Hey guys, Jay here and welcome to another cosplay tutorial. Today I'm going to be making another Naofumi shield from the Rising of the Shield hero. This one is for the Curse/Rage shield. I'm not exactly sure which one of those it's called. I think it's both. I'm not 100%. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But both words bring up this shield, so I don't know. Anyway, as you can see, this one also lights up. This one has a separate light from the other two that I made because I made two more for him. If you want to see them, they'll be linked in the description. But this one didn't have enough room in the back for the thing that has his light in it that fits in the other shields, so I had to make a new one. This one actually magnetizes in because I happen to have some magnets laying around. So, whatever. So if you'd like to make this shield for yourself, there'll be a template on my website, which you can get to down in the description. Also, the light that I'm using for this is no longer for sale on Amazon. Just look up disc or puck light and just pick whatever you want. You will want to make sure it's the right size. This one is about 3 inches wide in total. You can make it whatever you want. You can do however you want. You can even add a battery pack if you really want, because you can switch it on and off easier, whatever you decide. But I'll leave that up to you guys. So anyway, let's get on to the tutorial. I start by using the template from my website, printed out and taped together, and tracing it out on some 10mm craft foam. I cut out two, flipping it over for the second one to make the full shape of the shield. I do the exact same thing with the detail template on 5mm foam this time, but I used the base piece from before to trace out the main outline, then match the detail template up to it and trace out the details. Now, just having this as silver lines on black foam can be hard to tell exactly where you're cutting out, so I actually color in the entirety of the sections that will be cut out. This makes it much easier to not mess up and cut out the wrong thing. Then, using an X-Acto knife with a brand new blade so it's as sharp as possible, I painstakingly cut out all of the silver parts on the details. And when I say painstakingly, I'm being serious. My hand hurt after only doing one of the two halves. I had to stop and come back the next day. So be careful and go at your own pace. If you start to feel cramps in your hand, stop and come back to it later. So here's what all 4 pieces will look like together. I still need to make one more piece in the center. I can't tell if it's supposed to be raised or sunk in, so I'm just making it raised because that's easier. And the friend that this is for is totally fine with it. I'll also be using half of a DIY ornament for the glowing dome piece. To make the centerpiece, I cut it out of the template and trace the whole thing on 5mm foam, flipping it over to trace out the other half so that it's all just one solid piece. After cutting that out, I also cut out the hole in the center. Then line it up where it needs to be on the details, trace out where the hole aligns, and cut out a slightly larger hole. Then repeat that process for the base layer. This way the hole gradually gets larger so it can fit the entire ornament. And all of the holes except for the small centerpiece are cut at an angle that faces away from the center, so the hole is wider in the back than in the front. I didn't film it, but I ended up needing to make an entire second base layer. The shield was far too thin, so I did the exact same thing as the first base layer, cut it all out, and added the hole the exact same way. Then I glued all of the layers together using contact cement. I haven't said it in a while, so I'll say it here. Contact cement isn't like other glue. You don't put the pieces together while it's still wet. You have to wait about 5 to 10 minutes for it to get somewhat tacky before the pieces will stay together. And you only get one chance. The glue is stronger than the foam, and if you misplace anything, the foam will rip before you can get them apart. After the glue is fully cured, I can use the Dremel to sand down the center edges to make sure they're smooth enough to fit together nicely, and glue both halves together with more contact cement. After that, I go in with one of those breakaway bladed box knives that extend really long and trim away any overhang. Now I can test fit to make sure 100% that I don't need another layer. I'm happy with what I have, so I glue on the final centerpiece. Then I glue the ornament in place from the back with hot glue. I also ended up needing to use a Dremel to trim the back of it about 1/4 of an inch so that the light could fit. I ended up not filming it, but that was after I found out that the light didn't fit anyway. The last things I need to add are the handles and the arm strap. The strap will just be a piece of elastic I happen to have laying around, and I figured out its position on the back of the shield, and it's going to be held on with each end sandwiched between the shield back and another small square of foam. I cut slits in the foam where the glue will be going so that it'll have a better hold, then super glue everything in place. For the handle, it's just 1/2-inch PVC pipe with elbow connectors, and it's all super glued together. Then I made circular cuts where each of the pipe pieces were going to fit into the foam, and super glued everything in place. I also used 4mm square foam dowels around the base where the handle and the shield meet, but that's more for decoration than anything, didn't really do much. If you don't plan on making yours light up, this is where you're done and you can start painting. But I want to make it light up, so I have this disc light here that you just press the lens to turn it on, and it has multiple color options. This is actually the exact same one that's in the default and Chimera shields that I made. It was a pack of 2. The fixture in those shields is too large for this one, so I'm just going to make a new one with the extra light. It's just a square of 10mm foam with a circle cut out of the center so that you can super glue the light in place. Obviously being careful not to accidentally glue the battery cover on. And this one is going to be held with magnets, since I have some laying around that I'm not using. I used the Dremel with a sanding drum straight down to make holes that are big enough for the magnets to fit, and then super glue them in place. Then I can use the magnets that will hold this piece on and attach them to the light fixture magnets, line it up on the shield, and press down so I know where I need to match up, and then do the same thing to get these in place as well. Once that glue dries, I can mask off the ornament from the front and back, as well as the strap and handle, and start painting. I start with a few layers of Plastidip, just like most of my other foam props. I follow that up with the same gray primer that I've been using lately. Then comes the time-consuming part. You're gonna have to hand paint this entire thing. I'm just using basic glossy red and black here. The inner details all need to be red. Now, it's going to spill over onto the top layer, as well as the walls of that top layer. You're just gonna have to go back over the walls with black as carefully as possible. It took me 2 hours just to go over the red that got on the walls alone, but it's so worth it when you finish. Also, the red looks way more pink on camera. I have no idea why, but it doesn't look like that in person. It's the exact same red that I used on Princess Peach's crown. The last thing to do is use a frosted glass translucent spray thing on the inside of the ornament, black on the handle, and a gloss coat over the entire thing. Alright, so that was the tutorial on the Rage or Curse shield, whatever you want to call it. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys later.